Have you ever wanted to be rich beyond your wildest dreams? And 7 days to die, of course. Then this is the video for you. What's up, survivors? I'm NaturalBorn, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you my top money making methods in 7 days to die 2.1. First up on the list is the most obvious, but also the most important, and that is making sure you have the right books, perks, and gear equipped. The Enforcer sunglasses at tier 1 give you a 2% bartering bonus that increases by 2% up until tier 5, and then at tier 6 you get a 20% bartering bonus. Inside of your Enforcer glasses you can equip a cigar mod, giving you an extra 10% bartering bonus. This stacks inside of the glasses. In the intellect tree there is a skill called Better Barter that increases your bartering by 5% with each rank. So at rank 5 you will get a 25% bartering bonus, and the book Magnum Enforcer Volume 4 increases your bartering by 5% if you are holding the 44 Magnum. And last but not least, the Sugar Butts, which give you a 10% bartering bonus, and Grandpa's Awesome Sauce, which also gives you a 10% bartering bonus. And as of 2.0, this item now only costs 300 dukes instead of 1500 when buying it from the vending machine. But the best thing is, all of these bonuses stack together. So if you have access to any of these items at any point in time of the game, make sure you're using them when you do your big sell-offs to maximize your profits. Now this method was already a good money maker, but with the new perk Junk Miner, it gets a whole lot better because each rank of Junk Miner gives you a 20% bonus for collecting stuff like cloth, scrap polymer, and paper. And at rank 5 it gives you a 100% bonus to gathering those items. And the scrap polymer sells for quite a lot of dukes, so this will be your primary moneymaker here. Keep an eye out for these items next time you're out and about looting, and make sure that you're harvesting them. Things like tyres, empty water barrels, laundry baskets, tarpaulins, empty coolers, suitcases and luggage, school chairs and desks, blinds, blue bin dumpsters, dog carriers, roadside barricades, waterloos, cardboard boxes. There's a lot more than that I'm forgetting, but you get the point. If you make sure you're always harvesting these items when you find them, you will end up with a lot of polymer to sell. A stack without all of the bonuses mentioned in tip 1 sells for 3,200 dukes, and with all of the bonuses it sells for 5,760 dukes. So you can see why it's important to try and max out all of your bonuses as soon as possible. This here is my main go-to when trying to get dukes, and at any point in the game, wrenching down a car is always profitable. But you can capitalize on this when you get your hands on an impact driver, which allows you to harvest most cars in 2 to 3 hits. Make sure to equip it with as many mods as possible for an extra damage boost. You can also boost your harvesting rate by using the scavenger gloves. Tier 1 will give you a 5% boost, and you will get an extra 5% per tier up until tier 6, where you will get a 30% salvaging harvest bonus. Next we have the Hacker's Candy, which you can buy from any vending machine for 300 dukes. This gives you a 20% salvaging harvest bonus, and the last perk, Salvage Operations, in the Perception tree at rank 1. Not only does this give you a 20% harvesting bonus, but also allows you to do 10% more damage with wrenching tools, and use less stamina while doing so. And at tier 6 you get a 100% salvage harvesting bonus, and you do 50% more damage with wrenching tools, and all of these bonuses stack together. So now you want to drive around and wrench as many cars as possible, and you will end up with a lot of mechanical and electrical parts, oil, headlights, radiators that you can scrap and sell the brass, engines that you can sell or scrap for mechanical parts to sell, batteries, iron, gas, springs, pipes, cloth, and scrap polymer. But an example of how much you could make doing this is a stack of mechanical parts without all of the bonuses sells for 6,400 dukes, and with all of the bonuses from tip 1 it sells for 11,520 dukes. And a stack of headlights sells for 1,500 dukes with no bonuses, and with all of the bonuses 2,700 dukes. So you can imagine how many dukes you could make off of this method. Now this one is simple yet effective, and that is cheesing the end loot to every and any POI that you can. If you know where the end loot is in any location, then try to get to it as fast as possible, grab the goods, and sell everything that you don't need. You can drink a Mega Crush to help you run from building to building and get to the end loot a lot faster. Doing this in harder biomes will raise your loot stage, giving you better rewards. You can also use the Rogue Hood, which will give you a 2% loot stage bonus at tier 1 that increases by 2% for every tier up until tier 5. And at tier 6, it gives you a 20% loot stage bonus. You can also equip a treasure hunter mod in your Rogue Hood for an extra +5 to your loot stage, and eye candy, which you can buy from vending machines for 300 dukes, gives you a +5 to your loot stage and a 10% bonus to your loot stage as well. In the general perks, the skill Lucky Looter will increase your loot stage by 5% for every rank. So at rank 5, you will get a 25% bonus to your loot stage. This also allows you to loot 80% faster. Now, none of these perks and gear are necessary for this tip, but like the first tip, they help to maximize your profits. For this method, we need to travel to the snow biome and the wasteland biome and hunt dire wolves and zombie bears for red loot bags. Back in 1.0, this method was a lot more effective because the drop rate was 100%, but as of 2.0, the drop rate has been halved to 50% for red loot bags from these two creatures, which is fine because those odds are still good enough for us to profit off. You will find the dire wolf and the zombie bear like to spawn on the outskirts of towns and in the wild in their respective biomes, but can also spawn inside the cities, so make sure you're checking everywhere when hunting them down. Red loot bags contain the most loot out of any other loot bags, and if you're boosting your loot stage to make sure it's maxed out, then you're going to find the most valuable loot to sell. But speaking of hunting, that brings me on to my next tip. This one is a bit of an underrated tactic in my opinion, but that is hunting animals and selling the meat, leather, animal fat, and testosterone. The snow is the best biome to do this in, since there are multiple animals that spawn that you can harvest for meat. But the bears and the mountain lions is what we're going to be focusing on. Without any perks, a small bear will give you 25 meat, 7 leather, 3 animal fat, 1 testosterone, and 14 bones. The big bear will give you 50 raw meat, 15 leather, 5 animal fat, 2 testosterone, and 30 bones. And last is the mountain lion, which will give you 25 raw meat, 10 leather, 4 animal fat, and 20 bones. And in the fortitude tree, there is a perk called the Huntsman that has 5 ranks and gives you a 20% harvesting bonus for each rank. So at rank 5, you will get a 100% harvesting bonus, effectively doubling your harvest and doubling your profit. There is another perk called Animal Tracker, which allows you to crouch and see animals on your compass. This might help you if you're having trouble finding animals, but isn't necessary at all. But without any bonuses, a full stack of raw meat will sell for 500 dukes, a stack of leather sells for 1,100 dukes, a stack of testosterone sells for 1,000 dukes, and a stack of animal fat sells for 2,000 dukes. Bones don't have a sell price, but you could turn them into glue and then into duct tape and sell that. And with all of the bonuses, a stack of raw meat sells for 900 dukes, a stack of leather sells for 1,980 dukes, a stack of testosterone sells for 1,800 dukes, and last is the stack of animal fat, which sells for 3,600 dukes. Next up, we're going to be doing treasure maps. You will find a lot of these over time from loot bags and in loot chests. I like to save up a few and spend a day doing them. You can have more than one map active at once, but the map has to be from a different person. But there is quite a few ways to increase the loot that you find in them. One is what we talked about earlier, and that is boosting your loot stage. And also, try to read your treasure maps close to the wasteland or at least the snow biome for a higher chance of them ending up in the harder biomes to get that higher quality loot. But there is also a perk in the perception tree, Treasure Hunter. First 3 ranks give you a 10% boost for each rank to find more items in buried chests. The 4th rank adds extra dukes and cash to all buried chests, and then the final rank adds an extra weapon, piece of armor, rare item inside of all buried chests. The Treasure Hunter mod that we talked about earlier, that gives you a +5 to your loot stage, also gives you a -1 to the treasure radius, which stacks with the first couple of perks. So as an example here, you can see how many hits it takes to shrink the treasure radius to the minimum. But overall, you can find some pretty decent loot in treasure chests. Sometimes it's a hit and a miss, though that's why it's good to save up multiple and do them all at once. This is another simple one, but yet it has to be said. If you're anything like me and you like to hoard everything that you find, you're going to end up with a lot of spare parts, and my best advice is to start selling the ones that you're not using. They are not doing you any favours sitting in that storage chest. You want to be looting containers like working stiff tools and shotgun messiah crates to find tool and weapon parts, but shelves and trash are also a great place to find a lot of parts. Remember, when you spec into certain perks, it gives you a higher chance to find those parts and loot, but an example of how much you could make is a stack of all of these parts is worth 1500 dukes without any bonuses. A stack of all of these parts is worth 2000 dukes with no bonuses. And last is the legendary parts, which are worth 930 dukes without any bonuses. And with all of the bonuses from tip number 1, a stack of all of these items is worth 2700 dukes. A stack of all of these items is worth 3600 dukes. And last is the legendary parts, which sell for 1674 dukes with all of the bonuses. Let me know in the comments if you have any teammates that like to do this, or if you were guilty yourself. This one is a lot more effective in a world with loot respawn enabled, but even without it, it's still a great way to make a lot of quick cash. A lot of the POIs in 7 Days to Die have ATMs that spawn inside of them. Over time, you will learn a lot of these POIs, but until then, I recommend hunting them out and marking them on your map if you have loot respawn enabled. And that way, every 7 days, you can go and reloot them. Here is a few locations that commonly spawn in most random gem worlds that have ATMs. First is the Passing Gas number 4, this has one just out the front. Next is the Bull Strike Bowling, which also has one located out the front. Trader Bob, who has one inside of his shop next to the counter. The best of them all is the Piggy Bank, a tier 2 POI that has 4 ATMs. I would recommend finding a trader near this location and trying to get it as a quest to reset all of the ATMs. There is a book called The Great Heist Volume 3, which gives you a 10% chance to find more dukes and cash in safes and registers, but most importantly, ATMs. But a stack of old cash sells for 13,999 dukes with no bonuses, and with all of the bonuses from tip number 1, it sells for 25,199 dukes. There is also a lockpicking perk, but I wouldn't bother with it. My best advice would be to invest a -69er and break into the ATMs with a pickaxe. This is the best method late game to get a lot of easy dukes. First, you will need to find the super corn recipe to learn how to craft the seeds, and you will also need to find some seeds to start your grow. There is a few different ways to get the seeds, but the most notable is from the POI, Bob's Boars and Carl's Corn. You also have a chance to find them in red loot bags. To maximise your harvest of super corn, you want to invest in the 3rd rank of living off the land. You will gain the ability to triple your harvest of wild and planted crops. The farmer's outfit at tier 1 will give you a 10% crop harvest bonus that increases by 10% up until tier 5, and then at tier 6 you will get a 100% crop harvesting bonus. And the farmer boots at tier 1 give you a 2% seed harvesting bonus up until tier 5, and then at tier 6 you will get a 20% seed harvesting bonus. A stack of super corn sells for 5,000 dukes with no bonuses, and with all of the bonuses, tip number 1 sells for 9,000 dukes. With the new 2.0 update, we got the new biome smoothies, and they sell for a good amount of dukes, but they all sell for the exact same amount of dukes. So we're going to focus on the easiest one to craft and mass produce it for selling. And the easiest one in my opinion is the burnt biome smoothie, only requiring 5 coal, 20 plant fibre, 5 mushrooms and 1 clean water. They take a while to craft, but you can craft them in multiple workbenches to help speed up the process. A stack of smoothies sells for 2,000 dukes without any bonuses, and with the full bonuses, a stack sells for 3,600 dukes. This next method involves travelling to the desert to mine oil shale, and we will be using a chem station to turn it into oil. You will need 20 in the vehicle magazines to be able to craft oil, and 50 forge ahead magazines to be able to craft the chem station. Oil shale is very fast to mine. It only spawns in the desert and it appears on the map as these small purple dots. One stack of oil shale crafts into 5 stacks of oil, and each stack sells for 1,000 dukes without any bonuses, and with all of the bonuses, they sell for 1,800 dukes per stack. This one is a new method, but it is also class specific unless you're in the late game, and that is using a brawler build with the new strength mastery perk at rank 3, the Dentist. It gives you a 10% chance to get a gold or a silver nugget from killing a zombie with your fists. Now in the late game, if you're not in a brawler build, you could set one up for Horde Night to farm some easy nuggets, or even set up a Screamer farm to get them that way. Over time though, all of these nuggets will stack up, and whether you sell them straight away or wait until you have a stack, 10 silver nuggets sells for 500 dukes, and a full stack of silver nuggets sells for 12,500 dukes. 10 gold nuggets sell for 1,400 dukes, and a full stack of gold nuggets sells for 35,000 dukes without any bonuses. And with all of the bonuses, 10 silver nuggets sell for 900 dukes, a full stack of silver nuggets sells for 22,500 dukes, 10 gold nuggets sell for 2,520 dukes, and a full stack of gold nuggets sells for 63,000 dukes. For me personally, brass has always been a great money maker. If you're looting a lot of the trash that you come by in your game, you will naturally find a lot of brass. Lucky Looter Volume 3 will allow you to find more brass and loot as well. And if you're breaking down a lot of the cars, you will already have a lot of radiators. The car radiators can either be scrapped for 937 brass per stack, or you can put them in the forge to get 1,250 brass per stack. But with the addition of 2.0, there is a new perk in the Strength Mastery tree called Brass Miner. And this gives you a 5% chance to find brass while harvesting ores. So if you do a lot of mining and building, then you're going to end up with a lot of brass. The amount you receive seems to be random and not affected by any of the harvesting bonuses. There is a book that allows you to harvest brass from doors when you break them down, but you won't get a lot from doing this. But everything adds up in the end, and that's the whole point of this video. One stack of brass sells for 2,400 dukes without any bonuses, and with all of the bonuses, one stack sells for 4,320 dukes. But this method here goes hand in hand with the last one, and that is mining for profit. You can sell raw ores or smelt them down, specifically iron, since all 4 ore types sell for the same amount, and iron is the fastest to mine. There is a lot of things you can do to boost your mining, but this is a money making video, so I'll try keep it brief. In the strength tree, the perk -69er at rank 5 will give you a 50% more damage with all mining tools, allowing you to harvest ores faster. The perk Motherload at rank 5 gives you a 100% boost to ore harvesting. The miner helmet at tier 1 will give you a 5% ore harvesting bonus up until tier 6, where you will get a 30% ore harvesting bonus. The miner gloves at tier 1 will give you a 5% boost to ore block damage. That increases up until tier 5, and then at tier 6 you will get a 50% ore block damage boost. Rockbusters candy, which can give you a 20% mining harvest bonus. The Art of Mining Volume 1, which will give you a chance to get silver, gold, and diamond nuggets while mining. The Art of Mining Volume 3, which will give you a 10% mining harvest when buzzed from coffee. And the Art of Mining Volume 7 will allow you to do 10% more block damage, and with the full book set, the final perk allows you to get 20% more resources while mining. And last, you want a good pickaxe with at least 2 mods. The Bunker Buster mod to do 25% more damage to stone, the Iron Breaker mod to do 15% more damage to iron. But with the max bonuses, I was able to get a stack of iron within 1 minute. Just remember, results will vary depending on your gear. You can also craft the iron into forged iron or forged steel and sell that too. But without any bonuses, a stack of iron sells for 1,200 dukes, a stack of forged iron sells for 1,200 dukes, and a stack of forged steel sells for 5,000 dukes. And with all of the bonuses from the first tip, a stack of iron sells for 2,160 dukes, a stack of forged iron sells for 2,160 dukes, a stack of steel sells for 9,000 dukes. This one goes with tip number 3, and all of the bonuses there will apply here too. So with that being said, we're going to be focusing on harvesting electrical parts. There is a lot of different ways to go about this one, but we will cover a few for now. Running through residential houses and wrenching all of the lights and electrical appliances is a great place to start. This will net you quite a lot. As you can see here, from this house I got just about 200 electrical parts in just under 2 minutes. Also try look for factory style buildings and try to find electrical consoles. These are going to give you a lot of electrical parts. From this maintenance room I got around another 200 electrical parts in about 1 minute, but pretty much every single POI in the game has multiple things that can be wrenched for electrical parts. My best advice is to start wrenching everything you can, but be aware this method will attract a lot of screamers. A stack of electrical parts without any bonuses sells for 6,400 dukes, and with all of the bonuses, a stack of electrical parts sells for 11,520 dukes. This method has two ways to approach it, and is another underrated tactic in the early game. In late game, it can be a great passive money maker if you haven't found any supercorn seeds yet. That is harvesting all of the goldenrod, chrysanthemum, and cotton in the wild. All of the bonuses from tip number 10 will apply here too. So with the third rank of living off the land, you will get triple the harvest of wild crops. Early game, this can be a great way to get some dukes, and in the late game, you can set up a farm and mass produce your crops. You can even craft each resource into seeds if you have too many to sell at once. Without any bonuses, one stack of goldenrod, chrysanthemum, and cotton sell for 1,200 dukes, and the seeds sell for 2,000 dukes. And with all of the bonuses, a stack of each flower sells for 2,160 dukes, and a stack of each seed sells for 3,600 dukes. For this one, we're going to be collecting books. After a while, you will start maxing out your magazines and doubling up on books and schematics. Now you may be tempted to read them for XP or scrape them for paper, but if you save them up, you can make a good amount of dukes selling all of these items. This one helps if you have a drone with storage mods because books stack up quick. But without any bonuses, a stack of magazines sells for 400 dukes, a stack of books sells for 2,000 dukes, and a stack of magazines sells for 800 dukes. And with all of the bonuses from tip number 1, a stack of magazines sells for 720 dukes, a stack of books sells for 3,600 dukes, and a stack of schematics sells for 1,440 dukes. Not the best money maker, but every little bit adds up. This one may be one of my favourite tips of all time, and I can't stress this one enough, and that is make sure you are looting everything. From all the different trash containers to the end loot chests, you will be amazed how much good loot you can find in trash, especially over time. And the thing with looting everything is you will start to find out the value of all the different items in the game, and may even come up with your own money making methods. And I lied in that last tip, because this one here is definitely my favourite. And that is start to incorporate all of the tips that you learned in this video into your everyday playstyle, when and where you can. You don't have to use them all, but if you start practicing them now, then it will become second nature in no time, and you will never have to worry about dukes ever again. But I hope this video helped you in one way or another, and as always, if you have any tips of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments section down below. But if you did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more 7 Days to Die content, then don't forget to subscribe. But with that all said and done, cheers Survivor.